Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys. Whenever you watch this, this session is basically about what an HR manager actually does, how to grow from straight out of college into multiple industries. So we have today with us Himanshu. I'll tell him a little bit more about him. He graduated straight out of college into XLRI HR program. And not a lot of people actually do that. I mean, very few people will probably be fresh graduates straight into the HR program. After XLRI, he worked with ICICI Bank for a couple of years, and now he's working with Dr. Reddy's laboratories. He's in their research division. We'll come to know about what sort of work is there with between a bank. What does an HR do besides creating the secret Santa code for Christmas and all those other things which are there. Okay, the first thing which I actually remember from HR is Dilbert. There is an evil HR manager who basically, uh, fires people. What exactly do
Right,
you do?
right. So I'm a big fan of Dilbert as well, and I think it's a statement on the entire management, not just
Uh-huh,
HR.
uh-huh,
But yeah, to answer your question, what does an HR do? Actually, when I first joined XLRI HR, one advantage I had that I had no work experience, and hence I did not have a negative view about HR like many other people tend to form
Work. Yeah.
once they work. Yeah. So that being said, the 2 years in Excel were absolutely fun, right? At that point, we again didn't come to know that HR has any sort of we studied as much as the business management people, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, once you join the industry, you realize that HR is actually one of the most powerful functions in both the companies that I've worked. I've seen this that HR is quite powerful, and it is HR's responsibility how they use this power, right? In a way that is good or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, what HR does is manage the entire life cycle of an employee, right? We take decisions whom we want to hire, whom we want to promote, how much compensation we will provide someone, how much correction we'll give someone. Till the point an employee exits, the entire life cycle of an employee, basically all the key milestones which even the employee thinks in his journey are milestones are decided somehow by HR. Right. So in that way, it's a huge power and huge responsibility to be the wise counsel to the leadership and not, get swayed away by this authority.
Okay,
Uh,
so let's break it down in parts. Okay, so the first part is obviously getting people into it. I mean, like you work for a large company, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. You also worked for a large company like ICICI Bank also. So the problem is these jobs are not considered to be very glamorous, right? I mean, like everyone today wants to, go into all those startups and, something where they can travel a lot, something which is in the media quite a bit. How difficult is it to actually attract talent to a company, even though I mean, like they are like probably number one or two in their particular industries? How difficult is it to attract talent, especially younger talent, which basically wants, you know, I want to do something different in life, that sort of talent.
right. So to break your question, the kind of people who get attracted to the startups, are mostly the MBA kind of talent. Whereas in banks,
Mm-hmm.
70% to 80% of our workforce are graduates in any field, basically, right? And in the bank that I worked, 70% of the recruitment was done through the industry and academia tie-up, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's the volume of freshers that we hire and then train them to work.
Mm-hmm.
So talent has these both aspects. The talent of MBA needs a little more attention and employer branding to be done, and to compete with startups. And the other 80% talent just needs very hardcore recruitment strategies, and where to attract from tier 2, tier 3 cities, how to get the best of talent from everywhere around India. So, both in ICICI and in Dr. Reddy's, uh, I will just tell you the differences first. In ICICI, my role was actually to hire probationary officers, which are mostly feet on street kind of role. Whenever you enter a bank branch, you will see people who are the depending on the bank, it's privileged banker or value banker is their role title. And their job responsibilities basically they will have 200, 300 key accounts which they will manage. And the core thing is to sell everything and to know everything right about from mortgages to debt to FD,
Insurance.
right?
Yeah.
Right, to insurance, right? So to train these kind of, you will never get a ready-made skill from the market, or you might get, but not at the price you want. So the best way in ICICI we reached out is we had a tie-up with Manipal, and I think ICICI were the pioneers to do this. After that, now every bank has a
Yeah, I
internal
think Axis
way
Bank
of
also has
interview.
one. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have our own set of selection exams, and the volume is huge. We hire 600 every quarter. So we used to hire 2,500 in a year. We used to train them for 8 months, which also involved both on-the-job training and classroom training, and then to deploy them in various roles across India. So which wherein the business partner role comes in. So that is the key. And to attract the talent, uh, the biggest draw was of course the brand name within banking. It is much easier if you have a brand name like ICICI compared to other smaller banks. Uh, but then you also have to have an entire employee life cycle journey map. You show them where you will be in 2 years, 3 years from now when you join us. And you show them by actually having real life examples of people who are there in the bank since 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Right? That's the best way to attract
So it's
talent.
almost like how college happens. It's just like what ICICI Bank would have also told you when they came for your recruitment, right? I mean, like this is your journey through that.
Yeah, yeah, and if they bring my senior from 2 years to talk to me, and if he says that to me, I think nothing works better
Yeah,
than that.
that's true.
Yeah, it
That's
works
true. So tell me
even
about.
yeah.
So that is one.
Sorry, continue. Yeah,
Yeah. So you basically talked about the bank. A bank has a separate sort of. I mean, it's like more like an operations sort of a role, right? I mean, like you have a day-to-day activities. Right now, you're hiring people who are on research part of it, which
right,
requires a slightly different mindset,
correct.
right? I mean, most people in research want to be given some time to think about it. How do you measure research? I mean, like, say, even in a company like Dr. Reddy's, I mean, we have, say, in an IIT or an IIM, we have the number of research papers you publish, number of presentations that you make, number of cases that you publish in journals, etc. What kind
Yeah,
of output do you measure, and what kind of aptitude do you choose? What is aptitude when you're looking for research? I mean, because
correct.
research in companies, very few companies do spend on research, but the companies like you, I mean, in medicine, research is a huge part. I mean, all the money comes in through that research. Okay. So how do you measure that output on
Right. So the
work?
biggest difference I felt being in HR was the community of people I was now dealing with, because I was dealing with average age of 25-year-olds in bank, and the average age of entire ICICI is like 27. And in here, everyone has a minimum master's degree, MSc or MPharm, and then even more. Some people have a doctorate, PhDs, right? So these kind of I mean they are actually called scientists. This is a scientist community, right? People who work in pharma R&D. And to answer your question again, how do you measure research? Of course, we look at both the number of journals they have published in, or peer reviewed journals they have published in. But not everyone at all levels will have that. So we look at their actual on the job delivery, which projects they have worked on. And in pharma, the product life cycle is 2 to 3 years minimum to develop a medicine, right? From R&D stage to
True, true, true.
just the technology transfer stage. So compared to a bank where every quarter on quarter you get to see the results. Uh, so in this kind of an industry, it's a little more detail oriented in the way you need to look for talent, see what a success rate of a person is, and how talent looks like is very different in a pharma industry because you're dealing with the scientist community.
So, again, if I were to look back again at the type of people that you're dealing with, there you said like there are somewhere about from a graduate who's like 20, 21, 22 years old. You're now looking at somebody who's 34, 35, 36, now even more because PhDs usually are they do PhDs slightly later in life. So, what are the type of uh, I should not call it demands, but what are the type of security they are looking for in a job, right? I mean, like for a person younger who he'll be probably looking for growth or a first job in his life, whereas this person is actually probably more settled. What is the difference in the mindset of
Yeah.
people when they're looking for that particular job?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And when you are 23, 24, compensation matters a lot to you. I'm telling all the interventions that HR can help with. So
Yes,
compensation
yes,
matters
yes.
a lot to 23-year-olds or 25-year-olds. So they might jump even for a 5,000 per month increase in the salary. But in this cohort of scientists, what they really are looking for is the environment, the work environment, the culture, and how talent looks like.
I lost you again.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, can you
Am I
repeat
audible
that
now?
again?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
can you repeat
So,
that again?
yeah, I was just comparing in the banking, you're dealing with 23-year-old, and to them, maybe compensation will matter a lot. Just getting their home location will matter a lot, right? Whereas in the scientist community, they have grown beyond that point. Of course, compensation matters, but what really matters is the culture and the work environment that you provide, and the freedom to work the way they want. That is the key, especially in a research unit within even the pharma industry. So, Dr. Reddy's marketing might still, sales might still have those concerns, but I'm just comparing research.
How much does say a location matter? How much say does a location matter? Because for example, like I work out of a co-working space now, and one of the biggest challenge for most of the people, most of the other companies here, is basically to get talent to a place like Goa. I mean, Goa
Yeah,
is good for holidays, but for them, like that is the case. So whenever I speak to people over here, they say like getting talent to a look. I mean, how much does location matter, and especially at your levels? At younger level, people might be willing to shift places, migrate to different
yeah,
towns, etc. But as people grow older, they grow roots, they have friends, families, etc. To take all of that up, like
right.
how much does
Location.
location matter, and how much convincing you need to do to
Yeah,
get people.
absolutely. Location matters a lot. So that's why when Dr. Reddy's is building, the plants are in Visakhapatnam because there's a port there, and the manufacturing operations are easier. But we are in Hyderabad. The R&D is in Hyderabad. The R&D is in Bangalore, and there's a R&D unit in Cambridge and Netherlands also, which was acquisitions in past years. So these are the
Mhm.
four R&D units, and that's why the R&D units you see are always in these cities because the location actually matters for.
Because they have kids also. I mean, they have families, they have kids. They cannot just pack their baggages and just
Right, absolutely. So location matters a lot,
So
and
do you feel like
we
these
can't
barriers
really do
didn't exist?
telecommuting.
No, you cannot. I mean,
Yeah,
research is something that
in this kind of a work, we can't do work from home because it's entirely dependent on collaboration. The R&D works on people meeting every day. So there is the location is the only factor you can control. You can't give any other benefits to other people.
So do you guys also like filter people like when so that you don't get disheartened earlier? Like I mean like do you tell them like boss if you want to move to Hyderabad or to Bangalore only then apply otherwise like
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much is common knowledge now that Dr. Reddy's is in Hyderabad, the R&D is in Hyderabad only, and we might need to travel occasionally to the plants, which is 8 hours away. And we of course state it again in the interview, and because it's Hyderabad, and thankfully Hyderabad is just right in the middle of not being too crowded like a metro, or not being a tier 2 city. Many people are actually very
I
happy
mean,
to come.
Hyderabad is actually a very modern city. I mean, like
Yeah,
I visited Hyderabad a couple of times, sometimes
yeah.
because my time head office used to be in Hyderabad, and I used to
Okay.
visit that. Usually used to be a day sort of a trip, but still, I mean, like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah. So
pretty
we don't have a hard time selling Hyderabad to anyone actually.
yeah, Hyderabad is a pretty good place to be. Now that so you have the city part of it. What are the other things that these people are looking for? Uh, Research is considered to be like more secure sort of a role. I mean, like people in research are more protected, not as much, trimmings and trimmings, etc. But at the same time, one of the key challenges, and a lot of people, if they are not aware of what a researcher does, they think that, just because they have a job security, they will not work. Right? I mean, like that's a mentality, right? I mean, like that's what we tell, right? I mean, it's a government job. The job is secure. That's why they don't work. It's a private job. He has been working for 5 years. He's almost sure, so he's not going to work. So how? Obviously, that is not true. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's definitely not true. But how does the research community view that as such?
Right.
I mean, when people ask for something like that.
Yeah, so since this research community is so tightly linked with the manufacturing community, and the manufacturing community will obviously have those deadlines and the
Yes.
pressure,
Yes. Yes.
the research community is hence, I can say, sucked into that pressure to not go into a government job kind of a model.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's the duty of the leadership in the research and the HR in the research unit to ensure that everybody sees the same goal and the same timeline for that goal. And that has never been much of an issue, honestly. The culture here is such that it's a right mix of the freedom provided and without the lackadaisical approach that they can grow into.